Whenever anything comes on Adani, they paint it's an attack on India. Is Adani India? Till now, we heard that Modi is India, India is Modi. Did it change? Now is it Adani India and India is Adani? The journalist is painted as anti-national, and they are trying to attack on Indian economy.
The government is really keen on catching small fishes, but they have their own shark in the water which they don't touch.
Adani Group extensively used proxies to buy on their own shares.
An investigation which is exposing one of India's biggest corporate frauds and how they're manipulating their own shares without any malice.
Lender, borrower, signed by Vinod Chandilal Adani. Okay, lender, Vinod Chandilal Adani. So Vinod Chandilal Adani is lending to Vinod Chandilal Adani.
So you're entering at 400 loss, by the way, when you don't realize it. And this is where I think, common people get cheated.
SEBI did not initiate any action, even after they're getting a letter from the DRI chief.
If you look at the number of scams just the DRI has investigated on Adani, of course they got a clean sheet in all of these, but it's massive. And from the beginning till date, every export they have done is calculated in terms of a over-invoicing scam, circular trading, stock market manipulation. It's not new.
Welcome to the News Minute interviews. I'm Pooja, Prasanna. On August 31st, the OCCRP, the Guardian and Financial Times put out a news report, which was, in fact, their investigation of many, many months and years of hard work, in which they put out in public domain further evidence of possible stock manipulation by possibly the most powerful business house in India, that is the Adani Group. Of course, in just a few hours from when the report was made public, we've seen very, very polarized reactions coming in from both sides of the political spectrum. I'm going to now introduce two journalists who worked on this extensively for months, painstakingly putting this together. Thank you so much for joining me, Ravi, Nair and Anand Mangnale. First, I want to congratulate the two of you for the fantastic work. You and your team have painstakingly put this together. I'm going to get into, through the course of the interview, what it actually took to put this together. I won't ask you to give away any trade secrets, don't worry. But just to get a sense of what goes into a large-scale investigation of this sort. Ravi, if I could just come to you, how would you break down this investigation? Just in a few highlights, a few bullet points, if you can explain to our viewers what your findings were.
It starts from somewhere around 2010 to 2013. Directorate of Revenue Intelligence conducted an investigation into Adani's power equipment imports for two of their power plants in Maharashtra and Rajasthan. In that, according to DRI, they found out that the invoices were inflated up to 220%, and the money was siphoned off out of the country into UAE. From there, it went up into Mauritius. Though the adjudicating authority, later Sestat and the Supreme Court gave a clean sheet to Adani, we thought if, as when we have seen the DRI documents and the annexes, and we read the shock post notices over and over again to understand, we were kind of certain that something happened. So that's how we started. And we were almost kind of sure, even if they got the clean sheet, we were almost sure that the money, of course, reached in Mauritius. Then what happened? So DRI was blank there. We took over from there and found out who are what happened to that money, where it went, and who are the people behind this entire operation. And the money money was routed through offshore entities. The so-called shell companies in various jurisdictions like British Virgin Islands, UAE, Mauritius, Bermuda, and it ended up back then after circulating in a couple of funds in Mauritius, and it was invested in Adani's stocks, listed companies, and buying equities, trading in equities, then securities and derivatives, and they traded it. So that's the crux of the story.
Right. We're going to get into more of the details. But before we do that, Anand, we've heard many people comparing this to what Hindenburg put a few months ago. Tell our viewers how this is different from that report.
So, if one of the major allegations of Hindenburg was stock market manipulation done through the offshore funds and entities which are holding massive amounts of their money just in Adani stock. That's not a typical investor. If a foreign investor is investing, they diversify their portfolio for profits for their investors. But these funds are parking their money in Adani. So that was one of the major problems. But they couldn't find out who was behind these funds. So one of the clear, if you read Hindenburg's tweet, they say finally the loop is closed. So we have proven that these two funds, EIFF and EMRF, they are holding only Adani stocks, and that money comes from Adani's two best friends, associates, long-term business partners, whatever you call them. So we have proven what Hindenburg was alleging. So it's different in that sense, and also it's indifferent in that sense that Hindenburg is a short seller, and nothing wrong in finding who's being a corrupt fraud company and making profit on them. Good for them. This is an investigation by a non-profit, whatever, Soros funded and nonsense. But it is an investigation.
I will get back to that. Soros funding.
So it's an investigation which is exposing one of India's biggest corporate frauds and how they're manipulating their own shares without any malice.
Okay, let me simplify what Anand said. The first thing is that Hindenburg's allegations, they're drawn a lot of circumstantial evidence. They've done extensive investigation for sure. Their report says that, and it's actually shows that. But always circumstantial evidence. They concluded that these were the companies, and Adani Group extensively used proxies to buy on their own shares, and it ended there. They couldn't prove who are the proxies and what it was. That's why Nate Anderson tweeted yesterday, "The loop is complete now," so that we proved it. So they did it for their monetary interests. In our cases, it's totally different. We are this investigation for a non-profit, and this is not done for money or selling Adani shares or shorting something like that. So this is a part of job, an investigation to expose something. That's the difference.
Right, of course. But I want to focus on those two gentlemen, the two mysterious gentlemen who are at the focus, the epicenter of your story. Do tell our viewers who they are and how they connected to the Adani family.
There, one is Chang Chung Ling. I mean, usually people get confused with this name and they take some time to get used to it. Even Anand took a lot of time to get used to this name. So let us use his pet name. This is Lingo Chang. That is much more easier. He's a Taiwanese national and he's connected with the Adani family since years, more than 25 years. Chang Chung Ling's son gave an interview to one of the Taiwanese media, which is there in public domain, in which he said that his father's connection with the Adani Group started in late 90s when his father met Mr. Gautam Adani, and they gelled well. From there, the relationship started. In public domain, if we look at to establish, Adani Enterprises Limited, the flagship company of the group, before it becoming Adani Enterprises, it was Adani Exports. So Adani Exports annual reports on a couple of occasions, once in 2002 and once in 2005, if I'm correct. 2005 I'm confirmed, 2002 I think, but anyhow, a couple of occasions. In Adani Enterprises annual reports in their subsidiaries, Chang Chung Ling's or Lingo Chang's name appear as a director of a subsidiary company. Like Adani Global, it's one of the 100 major subsidiaries of Adani outside India, Adani Enterprises outside India, registered in Mauritius. And Adani Enterprises Pte Limited, it's a step-down subsidiary of Adani Enterprises and a subsidiary of Adani Global. In these companies, Chang Chung Ling's name appeared as the director alongside Vinod Adani. So the relationship is very old. And in 2007 and in 2009, DRI sent two shockers notices to the Adani Group, Adani Enterprises, and few associates of them, alleging that this group Adani Group formed a cartel and exploited the loopholes in a government promotional scheme between 2000 and 2004 to export cut and polished diamonds and gold jewelry. And in that, they siphoned off around a few thousand crore rupees. Anyhow, as usual, Adani Group got a clean sheet much later in 2015. But in that show cause notice, Changchung Link and Nasser Ali Shaban Ali's name was appeared. And in 2014, when they sent another show cause notice on this power equipment over invoicing scam, in that also both these gentlemen's name appeared. So their relationship was established longer. And Adani has a lot of Chinese companies. It will be shocking for everyone to know, but it's not disclosed in India. We have written it long ago. So in some of these Chinese companies, this Nasser Ali Shaban Ali is a part. So these documents are not easily available in public domain. That's why people are not able to this thing. So Adani's relationship with these people, it's well established and easy to establish for the uninitiated, and they have connection.
There was a Singapore address connection, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Pardon?
Which was common. There was an address in Singapore that was common between Vinod Adani and Mr. Chang, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's correct. DRI said that in their charge in 2007 and in 2009 also, that Vinod Adani and Changchung Link shared the same residential address in some documents.
Now that, we have established the link between them and the Adani family, Anand, if you can tell us, what is the illegality that is being alleged?
So, this is again technicality in terms of SEBI and company holdings. If a company is publicly trading in India, the promoters, meaning the owners, of which Vinod Adani is a part, cannot hold more than 75% of the share. 25% has to be mandatorily public for people to trade, for FIIs, for mutual funds to trade. So the company cannot corner stocks and increase prices. When these two guys invested their entirety of their amounts in Adani companies, they were holding around 8 to 15%, 14% of the 25%. So instead of 25% left for public, it's only barely 15, or even in some instances 8% left. So what that does is it creates artificial. Yes, it creates artificial
value for that.
Their entire total value, I think, in March 2017 was around $430 million.
To ascertain the exact amount, you have to convert that into Indian rupees, because the trading happens in Indian boursas and Indian stock exchanges in rupees. So you have to convert this 430 million. So in that time, approximately, if we take the price, it was around 67 rupees. And even if we take 65 rupees, it comes to at least a couple of thousand crores, around 2,500, 2,600 crores. So then we realize the actual impact, what happened. See, the 25% free float, the government came up with the law of 25% free float, because when the promoter holds maximum shares in a company, and the tradable number of shares which are tradable in the open market every day is less. So it creates a scarcity, and the prices will go up. The share prices will go up because it's a basic demand and supply situation rises. Now, when Adani using their own proxies and buying, from the free float, that actually reduces the free float. It's again a violation. See, in this particular case, this violation happened on many occasions, and on many rules they violated. So this artificial scarcity, this was deliberately creating artificial scarcity with an intention. We can say, the artificial scarcity anyhow jack up the prices, right? So with an intention, even if we say
you create an artificial demand using your
scarcity
proxy
of shares
and drive up your value in the market. Is that an accurate summary?
No, they actually created an artificial scarcity of shares, jack up the price. So when the share prices goes up, from an outsider, from someone looking from outside, he will think that, oh, this share prices have gone up so much, so it must be a good company. So the fundamentals are so strong. I think if I invest in this, it will give a good return to me. So people who doesn't check the fundamentals, the normal investors who usually won't check the fundamentals of the companies and goes into details, they'll just go and invest. And if something goes wrong tomorrow, they're gone. Their entire life savings are gone. So
Yeah,
that
because
is
also if the original price may be 100,
yeah.
because of the stock manipulation, it has gone to 500. You and I see, and I'm like, oh, this is doing great. So we enter at 500. So we are already at a 400 loss to start with, because the actual value is 100. This is all artificial inflation. So you're entering at 400 loss, by the way, when you don't realize it. And this is where I think, common people get cheated. And I mean, the regulators should look into it. They are looking into it, apparently. Let's see.
It's an interesting point you raise because one of the common defenses that we're hearing even when Hindenburg came out was that oh, this is some sort of a conspiracy to defame India. But in truth, the allegation is that common people like you and me, who are trades, uh, they are the people who are actually being taken for a ride. So if anything, there should be more demands being heard for your allegations to be probed. I'm going to come in a bit to the kind of reactions we've seen. But Anand, you mentioned the role of the regulator. Tell us what is the role of SEBI in all of this? What have they done so far and what is going on currently?
If SEBI had to do something, it started back in 2014 when the DRI investigation into price manipulation, sorry, overpricing, over invoicing of the power equipment scam. SEBI and CBI, ED, IT, all of these agencies received a letter from DRI which said that over 6,700 crore rupees inflation, over invoicing Adani has done, and this money has been siphoned off. It's a very clear term, siphoned off to Mauritius, and the DRI suspects that this money is being reinvested and reinvested in Adani stocks to manipulate pricing. It is a very clear warning.
Manipulate its own company's share prices. That's the word.
And they even gave, I think all of these agencies had the same evidence, the entirety of evidence of DRI's investigation, and nothing happened.
So DRI, when they sent the letter, they did not only send this letter, they sent CDs containing the evidences for their evidences, what they have found out in their investigation. So SEBI did not act. We can comfortably say that SEBI did not act for two reasons. One, SEBI itself said the Supreme Court that no previous investigation was happening before 2020, right? That is one. Second, in the case of if SEBI was investigating something, that should be put in the draft red herring prospectus. So when companies get listed in India, they publish a draft red herring prospectus and it filed with SEBI and BSE, in which the company should explain their financial health, their past deals, any allegations raised against them, pending litigations against the companies, their promoters, their associates, and all these things. So in 2015, Adani Transmission Limited were taken out of Adani Enterprises and became a separate entity. And it got listed in Bombay Stock Exchange. For that, in June 2015, this company published a draft red herring prospectus. In that, it detailed about all the civil criminal cases, what they are facing, the allegations, even the pending taxes, everything was put out. They said in 2007-8, SEBI filed a criminal. SEBI initiated a criminal charge against Vinod Adani and Rajesh Adani for trading law violations and other issues related to the trading with SEBI. And they came out of that, it was being settled by paying around 30 lakh rupees as fine. But about 2014, if SEBI had started any investigation, SEBI would have sent the notice to these companies asking for the details, which would have mentioned in this DRHP. It was not there. So these are the two reasons for us to say that SEBI did not initiate any action, even after they are getting a letter from the DRI chief. That is one. Now, CBI, when DRI sent those letters and evidences to different investigative agencies under the union government, which is most of them are under the Union Ministry of Finance, and one is under the PMO. None of them acted, but CBI did a preliminary inquiry and filed an FIR, which is widely reported. Few months later, in 2015, all this happened after this new government came in, because the DRI's letter happened on mid-May 2014. 15th May election result came and NDA won. 26th, Mr. Modi took oath as the prime minister. So the government changed by then. 2015, CBI closed down that case. For what reason, nobody knows. I mean, now, if you trace to find out the FIR, what they filed, it's not there.
Is there a closure report? You're saying the FIR, the fact that it was registered is untraceable currently?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not there. So,
clearly, there's no closure report.
In my knowledge, it is not there.
Okay. So, just to kind of, for the sake of clarity for our viewers, if you can tell us how you have been able to establish that the money that these two men have pumped back into the Adani stocks also came from Adani's. How have you been able to close that loop?
We are not saying that this money is completely came from Adani. So, I mean, this can be described in different ways.
Yet.
Yeah, okay. We are not saying yet that the complete amount, the 430 million, came from Adani. But if we, when we say 431 million, this is only of these two individuals, Nazar Ali, Shaban Ali, and Changchun Ling. Vinod Adani also traded in Indian equity market, but except for a few months in the early 2012, in mid 2012 to early 2013, he did not invest in Adani stocks. Okay, so if we say that Vinod Adani also traded in his own company stock, that will be wrong on our part.
That also for now.
Yeah, for now. But if we say that if we take the amount Vinod Adani invested in Indian stock market, so by March 2017, this figure, this 430 million figure, go to 557 million. So the 127 million was of Vinod Adani's. He invested in derivative market, futures, and traded in so many listed companies in small quantities. But he, unlike his proxies concentrated on Vinod Adani's or Adani group companies, Vinod Adani did not concentrate anywhere. Yes. His investments were just like a seasoned trader who did not concentrate anywhere, but kept it. I mean, he did not hatch all his eggs at one place in one basket. But his associates did that. So that and all these three investments, all these three men's investments were managed by a company owned by Vinod Adani. So that itself.
So they're getting advice from a company owned by Vinod Adani, yes, to invest in Adani Group. Is that right?
Normally in funds, what happens if I Pooja, Prasanna, Anand, Mangnale, or Ravi are invest in a fund, the fund manager take a decision where to invest. That is his product. I cannot go and say that, dude, okay, I have this 100,000 rupees. You should invest in this fund. You should buy this stock. I cannot say that. Even if I say, he won't listen to me. But in this case, what happens? These guys, hundreds of millions of dollars of these guys were in these funds. So they used to call, they used to mail that, okay, this money should be invested in this one. We are sending this much money. They should be taken out and invested in this place. And almost all this, for these two people, it was on Adani. And in between, they will write, okay, the investors meet are coming, so you should vote. You should be act as the proxies on our behalf, and you should vote for the Adani group, the family. Now a part of this transaction was done in 2011. Vinod Adani formed another company in Mauritius called Ascent, ASSENT, Ascent Trade and Investment Private Limited. Okay, so that is again Vinod Adani's company. This Electrogen Infra Mauritius is also Vinod Adani's company. Now this Electrogen Infra Mauritius signed a loan agreement with Ascent and lent $100 million to it to invest in Asian equity market or Asian security market. Okay, so the most interesting part, I mean, when we saw that, we were laughing our heart out. Like, lender Borrower, signed by Vinod Chandilal Adani. Okay. Lender, Vinod Chandilal Adani. So Vinod Chandilal Adani is lending to Vinod Chandilal Adani $100 to invest in Asian security market.
Right.
Interesting. So that money went in from Ascent, 38 tranches to a fund based in Bermuda. It's a feeder fund, a pooled fund, a big fund. On that time, it had around 160, 170 investors all put together. And this money was transferred into a Global Opportunities Fund, and Global Opportunities Fund transferred that money to the Mauritius funds. That is initially Asia Vision Fund and Emerging India Focus Fund. We are speaking only about Vinod Adani. Asia Vision Fund and Emerging India Focus Fund. But a few months later, he took out that money from Emerging India Focus Fund and concentrated only on Asia Vision Fund and invested in varying portfolio, large number of portfolios in India. So Vinod Adani's investments are very clear. That was out of Adani group. But the other two guys, as we said earlier, they concentrated only and only on Adani. So for all these investments, this company based in UAE called Excel Investment Advisory Services Limited, they advised these funds and fund managers. They used to write, okay, so we advised you for this much time, and this is the advisory fee you have to pay us. So in a sense, I am investing in a fund, and I am advising that fund where you should invest my money, and I am charging the advisory fee from that fund. You're getting it?
Absolutely. So the money is staying in the house.
Yes.
This is that way.
So you're making profits from the investment, but you're also taking a kickback on advising on your investment. So
right.
From wherever you can suck the money, you do it.
Absolutely. Now, Anand, if you can tell our viewers about what goes into putting an investigation like this together. How long did it take? How large was the team? Investigators, journalists behind the scenes. And, I'm sure this required a lot of cross-border coordination, investigation, going through documents. Tell us what all of that was like.
A lot of coffee and beer. So, I mean, the amount of documents that came to us and that we access is massive. So it's a lot of frustration and a lot of excitement on any given day. So when you finally start to piece something together, then it comes, so when you're talking about Mauritius or Bermuda or Dubai, we have partners and investigators in all these places because of OCCRP's network. So we try and talk to them to understand what they know about these companies, what documentation they can share with us regarding these companies. So this is how slowly everything came together. But I mean, it started with, the final patch took 6 months, but even understanding the entire DRI, going through the DRI documentation, following that another 6 months. So we figured out starting stories maybe 4 or 5 months back. But before that, it was like, we have so much, we need to figure out what to do with this.
So the entire time span is only 13 and a half months approximately, nearly 14 months. A lot of sleepless nights, long days, a lot of coffee.
And when we started sharing this with FT Guardian, it also, that exercise of sharing with partners and describing them the story makes it a lot clearer for yourself also. Because when we're explaining them step by step, we also realize, okay, this needs to be strengthened. We need to find more documentation, more proof for this argument. So that entire process is very painful. And it's very exciting once the story is out.
I want to know from both of you, what are your observations of, the fallout, the reactions that you've seen, not just from when the report was put in public domain, but in fact, I think at least 4 to 5 days before, in anticipation of what's coming, there was some attempt at damage control. So what was
it actually happened last Thursday, not yesterday, last Thursday. As good journalists, all of us, we usually send questionnaires to, when we're doing a big story, we usually send questionnaires. We ask in detail, okay, what happened? This is what we found out. What's your reaction, and what do you have to say on this? So OCCRP, FT, and the Guardian sent questionnaires to the Adani group on last not day before, last Tuesday. Okay, even before we got a reply from them, it was out that Soros funded OCCRP doing a story on this. From where did it got look and who
Oh,
leaked
PTI
it?
had 3 independent sources, by the way.
Yeah, and PDF. I mean, we send the questionnaire only at one place on that time, but PTI found out three different sources to confirm this, that a big story is coming on Indian corporates, and this is sort of a Soros-funded organization. That's fine. Soros funds. He donates to hundreds of different organizations. That's fine. The crux should be that what is the story that should be, and how reliable it is, what it proves. That should have been the anticipation and question. But here, in our current ecosystem, it doesn't work like that.
Absolutely. In fact, Anand, you were named by a right-wing publication,
Oh, they love me.
and this was called a hit job. That's on one side of the spectrum. On the other side, we saw leaders of opposition taking this up, demanding a JPC, a Joint Parliamentary Committee, probe into this. So, what do you make out of it?
No, I mean, right-wing media is right-wing media. I mean, calling them media is itself a disgrace. But yeah, they do exist and they have an audience. And this is Op India and a couple of others who have been writing about, I used to consult with NewsClick, so that Chinese-funded NewsClick, now US-funded. I think they need to make up their mind, is it China or US? Because geopolitically, they're not together. Basics should be in place. And opposition had to take it up, because we're not talking of a small shop owner in Bombay or Pune or Bangalore. We're talking of Adani Group. And it's not first time that these allegations have come up. Hindenburg and if you look at the number of scams just the DRI has investigated on Adani, of course they got a clean sheet in all of these, but it's massive. And from the beginning till date, every export they have done is calculated in terms of a over-invoicing scam, circular trading, stock market manipulation. It's not new. So if consistently there's evidence and there's allegations coming out against the biggest group in the country, and this group is close to Modi, as everybody knows, Prime Minister, because when Modi landed in Delhi to take his oath as Prime Minister first time, he landed proudly in an Adani aircraft with the logo of Adani. So that itself shows their closeness, if nothing else. Then if that's how crony capitalism is also defined, that one person closest to the power center gets everything. If you look at acquisitions of ports, airports, infrastructure projects and everything, and when Modi goes on a foreign trip, Adani gets contract in those countries. It's all circumstantial, but it collates to a bigger problem that it might be very close. This group is very close to the Prime Minister, and that's why they're getting all these benefits. So, if the opposition wouldn't pick it up, it would be really stupid of the opposition. Why are the opposition in that sense then? The OCCRP editor-in-chief, he tweeted, "We have 40 total donors. Soros's funding is 4% of our entire donations. And we sign an agreement which dictates that no funder or donor will dictate our stories or editorial policy. It's like, we are in this for the pursuit of truth. You can play as propaganda as much as you want, doesn't matter." So I think that answers it really well.
What we exposed, or any journalist exposed as such, as illegalities or corruption of a particular corporate group. When we expose something of the illegalities what they have done, or corruption what they have done, why the right-wing ecosystem is so adamant on painting white all over it and giving a clean sheet? Number two, whenever anything comes on Adani, they paint it's an attack on India. Is Adani India? Till now, we heard that Modi is India, India is Modi. Did it change? Now, is it Adani India and India is Adani? Number three, if any corruption allegation comes against Adani, the journalist is painted as anti-national, and they are trying to attack on Indian economy. So now, third question arises, that what is the interest of the BJP leadership and BJP IT cell in Adani companies? Do they have any financial interest there? Otherwise, why are they feel so pained to protect the Adani group? No, it's a straight question. If they have no connection, if the BJP leadership have no connection with the Adani group, or they have no financial interest in the Adani group, or they have no monetary benefits from the Adani group, why are the ruling regime, its IT cell, the main ruling party, taking so much pain, so much efforts to tarnish the people who are doing this investigation and exposing the corruption?
No, those are very important questions that we'll have to answer. Before I wrap up, I want to know from the two of you what next, what is expected on this, because I know that there is more work that you guys are doing without compromising what you're doing. If you can tell what can we expect, and also how do
Some
you
more fun,
hope
some more
that this
fun,
will come to a logical end? Ravi? Yeah.
some more fun, wait and watch. That's what we can say right now.
Okay. Anand, how are you? I mean, for you, you've put out the story, you've done your job. But what I want to know is, how would you hope that this is taken forward? Would you hope that it is investigated? If so, then by whom? How
Yes.
do you see this panning out?
See, the first thing in all of this is the power invoicing, the power invoicing scam, right? The over invoicing which they did. They laundered $1 billion outside India to Mauritius,
Mhm.
and they got clean chits at 3 different levels. I think the Supreme Court decision on this, when the Supreme Court took it up after an appeal, they didn't even contest the case. They said we agree with the previous orders. So I think Supreme Court needs to take it up. They need to investigate. They need to look at the evidence. It's very clear. It's one of the finest investigations you can ever read. I'll send you the show cause notice. It's public. It's one of the finest investigations. So personally, I feel Supreme Court should re-look at this investigation, and then they'll realize this was money laundering and 1 billion was laundered out of India. When that is established, everything falls down because it's their money which went to Mauritius. It came back to India. They violated the 25% free float margin rule. So SEBI, punishment for these, if SEBI is really to act, they would delist Adani companies. So I mean, there needs to be some action from the government. That's the problem, I think. But because government is the final authority, right? The government is really keen on catching small fishes, but they have their own shark in the water which they don't touch.
Absolutely. We're going to leave it at that for now.
I'll explain one more thing on this DRI's money laundering case, what Anand just explained. If you speak technically, this is a double loot.
Mhm.
Not simple. This is not just 1 billion. This is a double loot. When the power tariffs are decided, especially for thermal power plants, it is two components.
Mhm.
Okay, one is a capacity charge. The second is the energy charges. Energy charges is the price for the fuel, like coal, diesel, gas, whatever they use it, and the variables. The capacity charge is the money which the promoter or the builder of that plant invest in, including machinery, building, land, and all the other setups. So the investor has to recover that money back. So how do they do that? So they charge that money from the end user, the one who is paying the electricity bill. So that is added to this. So when they jacked up this 1 billion in the power equipments, they have shown the price higher here. So when they calculated the tariff capacity charges for these two power plants, I'm sure that this is included there. This hiked up price included there, and this adjusted in the pricing. So now they are taking that money from the electricity consumers of India. So this is a double loot. They already siphoned off 1 billion. Now they are recovering it again. They looted money. They looted the money. They sent it abroad. Now they are recovering that money from Indians again.
Well, I hope people are listening, and the section that keeps saying this is a conspiracy of India realize how they are also being impacted. And at the end of the day, whatever is in the interest of the larger, for the country, that has to be kept in mind. I thank you both for joining me, and also congratulate you again and your team for this investigation. We'll keep a close eye on what you're doing next, and hopefully we'll catch up with you one more time.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so
Great
much.
talking to
Thanks
you.
for inviting. Thank you.